In this podcast episode, Ben Shapiro delves into the current political landscape as the election day approaches, highlighting the media's attempts to undermine Donald Trump through various smear campaigns. With less than 2 weeks until the election, Shapiro discusses the implications of early voting trends, the state of the race, and the desperate measures being employed by the Democrats to regain momentum. Shapiro begins by analyzing the current state of the race, noting that Donald Trump appears to be leading as Election Day approaches. He references political analyst Mark Halperin, who suggests that if early voting trends continue, Trump could secure the election before it officially begins. Shapiro emphasizes that Democrats need to perform well in early voting to have a chance on Election Day, as the data indicates a significant uptick in Republican participation compared to previous elections. The early voting statistics reveal a robust turnout for Republicans in key states like Georgia and North Carolina, where early voting numbers have surpassed those from the previous election cycle. Shapiro points out that this shift in voter behavior could signal trouble for the Democrats, particularly in states where they have historically performed well. The implications of these trends are significant, as they suggest a potential red wave that could reshape the electoral map. Shapiro shifts focus to Vice President Kamala Harris, who he argues is running a weak campaign. He cites internal concerns within her campaign about the potential loss of key states like Michigan and Wisconsin, which are crucial for a Democratic victory. Shapiro highlights that Harris's inability to connect with voters and articulate a clear message has left her campaign vulnerable. The vice president's recent public appearances have not resonated with the electorate, and her attempts to appeal to various demographic groups through promises of financial assistance have been met with skepticism. Shapiro argues that these tactics are indicative of a campaign in disarray, as Harris struggles to regain traction in a race that is increasingly favoring Trump. As the election draws near, Shapiro discusses the concept of the October surprise, a term used to describe unexpected events or revelations that can significantly impact an election. He notes that the Democrats are resorting to desperate measures to undermine Trump's candidacy, including the release of unverified and sensationalized stories. Shapiro argues that these tactics are unlikely to sway undecided voters, as Trump's support remains steady despite the barrage of negative press. The media's focus on Trump's past comments and actions, particularly those that can be twisted into damaging narratives, reflects a broader strategy to paint him as unfit for office. Shapiro contends that the more the media attempts to smear Trump, the more resilient his support becomes, as many voters have already formed their opinions about him. Shapiro critiques the media's role in perpetuating anti-Trump narratives, particularly through the use of anonymous sources and unverified claims. He highlights a recent story from The Atlantic, which alleges that Trump made disparaging remarks about a deceased Latino soldier. Shapiro points out that the story lacks credible sourcing and relies heavily on hearsay, yet it was still widely reported by major news outlets. This pattern of behavior, according to Shapiro, demonstrates a willingness among media organizations to prioritize sensationalism over journalistic integrity. He argues that the media's obsession with discrediting Trump has led to a loss of credibility, as many Americans are increasingly skeptical of the narratives being pushed by mainstream outlets. The discussion then turns to the implications of early voting on the election outcome. Shapiro emphasizes that early voting provides valuable insights into voter sentiment and can serve as a bellwether for Election Day results. He notes that the current early voting trends indicate a strong Republican turnout, which could foreshadow a favorable outcome for Trump. Shapiro also addresses the potential for early voting to influence the strategies of both campaigns. With Republicans showing increased enthusiasm for early voting, Democrats may need to recalibrate their approach to mobilizing voters in the final days leading up to the election. The ability to adapt to changing voter dynamics will be crucial for both parties as they seek to secure victory. Shapiro discusses the challenges associated with polling in the current political climate, particularly in light of the inaccuracies observed in previous elections. He notes that many polls failed to capture the true sentiment of the electorate in 2020, leading to significant discrepancies between predicted and actual outcomes. The conversation highlights the importance of understanding how polls are constructed and the potential biases that can influence their results. Shapiro argues that the polling landscape is evolving, and as Trump continues to maintain a steady level of support, the reliability of traditional polling methods may be called into question. Shapiro explores the composition of Trump's coalition, noting that it has become increasingly diverse in recent years. He points out that Trump has made significant inroads with non-white voters, particularly among Black and Hispanic men. This shift in support challenges the conventional wisdom that the Republican Party is solely reliant on white voters. The discussion emphasizes the importance of recognizing the changing demographics of the electorate and how they may impact the election outcome. Shapiro argues that Trump's appeal to working-class voters, regardless of race, is a key factor in his continued popularity and could play a pivotal role in the upcoming election. As the podcast progresses, Shapiro delves into the desperation exhibited by the Democrats as they attempt to regain control of the narrative. He highlights the lengths to which they are willing to go, including the use of high-profile surrogates like Liz Cheney to appeal to moderate voters. Shapiro argues that this strategy is unlikely to resonate with the broader electorate, as Cheney's values do not align with those of the Democratic base. The Democrats' reliance on negative campaigning and character attacks against Trump reflects a lack of substantive policy proposals. Shapiro contends that this approach may ultimately backfire, as voters are more likely to respond to positive messaging and a clear vision for the future. Shapiro discusses the impact of social media on the political landscape, particularly in relation to the dissemination of information and misinformation. He notes that platforms like Twitter and Facebook have become battlegrounds for political discourse, with both parties leveraging these tools to reach voters. The conversation highlights the challenges posed by misinformation and the need for individuals to critically evaluate the information they encounter online. Shapiro emphasizes the importance of fostering a culture of skepticism and discernment, particularly in an era where deep fakes and manipulated content are becoming increasingly prevalent. Shapiro reflects on the future of the Republican Party in light of the current political climate. He argues that the party must adapt to the changing demographics of the electorate and find ways to engage with a broader range of voters. This includes addressing the concerns of working-class individuals and emphasizing policies that resonate with their needs. The discussion underscores the importance of unity within the party as it moves forward. Shapiro suggests that the Republican Party must focus on building a cohesive message that appeals to both traditional conservatives and newer constituents if it hopes to succeed in the upcoming election and beyond.